So I saw a quote this week that really got me thinking. I think we should discuss it for a few moments here. But I was reading a quote by, I believe to be Thomas Edison, and it said that we often miss opportunities because they are dressed in overalls and look like hard work. And it really got me thinking about today and the age that we live in which there's so many get-rich-quick scenarios or advertising out there to us that it can get easy to miss the just basic thought process of putting in the hard work and just putting in the hours and building towards something. And I think it's something that we can really use to discuss and think about as a society is, are we losing some of that work ethic and mindset towards a age of immediate gratification and less, really, I guess if you want to consider it, hard work?
Mm-hmm. So as you were saying that, what was coming to my mind is there's a very large but there's a distinct difference between increasing efficiency and attempting to shortcut.
Absolutely.
Those, I think, people will claim, "Oh, I'm just trying to be better. Just trying to do it faster."
Yep.
No, you're trying to take a shortcut.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with aiming for efficiency increases. Yep. You know, a better way of doing something. It's vastly different than I'm just trying to get rich quick.
Yeah.
Well, what's the trade-off on that? Are you just being taken advantage of emotionally to get you to buy something? Or have you actually found something efficient? Those are quite different, and they're sometimes dressed very similar. But on the get rich quick, they basically promise, hey, you don't got to wear the overalls anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The efficiency people, you often learn to be efficient because so many hours you've been putting into the grind that you can notice how things can be improved. If you haven't put the time in, it's hard to truly understand how you can improve it. It goes from theory to actual reality on that.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of wired at this point to think, subconsciously really anymore, that when you see the overalls and the hard work, well, that's the hard way. There's a lot of people use the phrase work smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. So we automatically think, okay, well, if we're working hard, then we're not working smart. If I see the overalls and the hard work, I must not be doing it the smart way. I must be doing it the hard way. And we're almost wired to think that hard work is the wrong way, or the less successful, less smart, if you will, way of doing something. And I feel like we should take a moment to address some of the situations and maybe just some thought processes that can play where that hard work's still necessary. You got to put in those hours, that grind, that hard work, and it's still required in a lot of ways. So as a society, we can't lose too much of that mentality.
Mm-hmm. And when everyone only cares about the short road, no one cares about the long road. And the long road is that era of progress, the pride, the I built this, I love this, I want to protect this. If I just go out and just pick up something from the store, something cheap, and then I drop it, cup of coffee.
Yep.
I'm like, that's it. I'm not mad. If I go and I go to a woodwork shop and I make something a little bit, you know, let's say I spend 2 hours, you know, just making a little piece of art. Don't know what it is. Never really done that. But I make this thing and then I walk outside and I drop it and it crashes and it breaks. Now it's all scuffed up and it's broken. I put work into that.
Absolutely.
That was hard for me. That I'm now mad about. The part of society that we build is the part we care about. Whether it's a little itty bitty piece of art or your work, your job. If I was to go to a construction site, I never recommend doing what I'm about to suggest here, and I just take a brick and throw it through a window of an active construction site while the workers are there,
Yeah, it's probably not going to go very well.
I'm bye. You don't mess with those guys. You don't do it because they are actively. They'll be mad that you interrupted their workday. They'll be more mad that they now have to go and fix something that they have put their heart and soul into, just to make go a certain way, make it the right way. And then I come in, and we often take for granted how delicate certain aspects of society are. Like car. You walk by a car and you just take your key, you're just mad one day, and you key someone's car. Take you 5 seconds. Thousands of dollars to get that back to how it was. Yeah. That's a car. That's something that doesn't mean anything. But what if it actually was something that meant something? Like a telephone pole. Yeah. It is not, it's a telephone pole. Take an axe. Hopefully someone catches you quickly.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also a part that plays into of people's attention spans too. I think people they'll start down something that may be a little bit more difficult or not necessarily complicated, but it requires a fair amount of work and effort, and then they get bored. There's some amount of repetition to it. It's, whether physically, mentally, or psychologically difficult, they get bored of it. And it's not true for everyone, but they're quick to just, let's just go to the next thing because this is hard. I don't want to spend the time on it. I'm getting bored. Let's go to the next thing that's easier and faster.
What is the next quick dopamine hit? I mean, we're on the internet. We are aware of this. But the 6-second clip is a 6-second dopamine hit. Mm-hmm. And when it's just that easy to get a dopamine hit all day long, it is quite difficult to turn that off or fight that to try to go do something that's going to, I'm going to have to work 20 minutes on something, 2 hours, 4 a day on something, and I may or may not get the satisfaction out of it when I can open up my phone and flip and go ahead and get dopamine hits all day long. Yeah.
Or this could be on a larger scale, this could be as equivalent to the 6-month job change. Mm-hmm. Right? Yes. So, and I'm not saying that changing your job is a bad idea.
Right.
But if you get bored of what you're doing because it's requiring you to really actually engage at the workplace and put in some time and hours to advance in that, and then you're like, well, this is getting hard, so I don't want to do it anymore. And then you just go to the next thing. Or then that job gets hard and you're like, I don't want this. I'm just going to go to the next thing. And there's a time and a place for changing jobs. But that's another example of how almost the aversion to hard work there is. And I think the real world application to that is what we see in a lot of, for example, Amazon. What do we see most often coming out of Amazon? Items that are less handcrafted and made and more constant assembly manufactured items that are of lesser quality. For example, Temu. Everybody loves that website. I've never personally used it, but I know the items that come out of there are of lesser quality than maybe some handcrafted items. Mm-hmm. And yet that, in today's age, is absolutely astonishingly popular. But if you were to go back 50 years and you were to try to sell those products to some of the people then, I don't think you'd have very good success. Mm-mm. Because back then the mentality was handcrafted, personally made, stability, hard work, that kind of mentality. Whereas today, you don't see that as much.
When you're designing something that you intend to last a very short time, like a phone case, you hope it lasts for the life of the phone, 1 to 3 years, generally speaking. That's very different if you were saying, I need a phone case to last 50 years or 10 years
Yeah.
and still maintain quality. It's probably both. It could be the supply or the demand. It could be the market forces, or it could be the creators on that handcrafted example.
And
It could be both.
I'm not knocking Temu or Amazon or any of the manufacturing items of. It's just that's the way it is. That's the way society is decided to take itself. And I guess what we're trying to do here is just explore that and how it impacts our daily lives.
So like relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people will say, look, I'm bored. What do you mean you're bored? It's been like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I just got comfy. Oh, you mean you didn't have all the puppy love anymore?
Right.
And you started to maybe mature a little bit, and you moved from the next phase of, oh, it's all dopamine hits to, oh, it's a different kind of dopamine hit. Oh, it means something a little bit more now.
Yeah.
Instead of just jumping, jump.
Or as we were saying, it gets hard.
Yeah.
You run into some difficulties in the relationship, and we've talked about that before, but you get into a relationship where, for a month it's easy because it's new and it's exciting. But then after 6 months or 12 months, then you start running into some difficulties, and that's when people will give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this trend often, and I have especially this past week, which is why I wanted to talk about it today. But what I really think we should focus on is what are some of those real-world applications for us and the people watching this for this shift in mentality for society? How does that affect our day-to-day life in a lot of ways, and how can we, I don't want to say adapt, because I don't know that it's a shift that I want to encourage, but how do we react to this societal shift?
Recapturing our focus and big dream desires again. There's two ways to stop from doing something you shouldn't do anymore. There's the punishment every time it happens. That's one way. Or there's, I'm going to replace it with something else that is worth my time.
Okay.
They both have their place in society. If your kid's going to touch the stove, you don't say, son, let's have a long, drawn-out philosophical discussion about what you're going to do. No, you smack the hand because you don't want them to burn themselves on the stove.
Right.
But when it's maybe your buddy who is just, let's pick the example I always use, eating way too many Cheetos. There's no passion, and he can't hold a job for more than a week. Can't keep relationships going at all there. There's no dream in him. Now, I think we are built to pursue something difficult. We need the building that gives us, the confidence of doing something hard. That's why I really love, this sounds so silly, bricklayers, hardscapers. The benefit.
Difficult manual labor.
The true benefit. So I used to carry brick for a hardscaping company. The end of every workday was a different kind of satisfaction than my desk job. They're both satisfaction, but they're very different.
Right.
One is, oh, that brick right there, that one right there that I stubbed my finger on, and then we got into the right place, and I'm sweating, but this is an absolute piece of beautiful art by the end. That was a beautiful moment of satisfaction. And have that every single day. But guess what? It was hard work.
Yeah.
When someone pitched, hey, I want you to come carry brick. Sign me up, coach.
Probably not very often.
Yeah, but there's a true benefit. You learned the value of your pay because you actually had to go work for it. You learn how to work well with others and how to see the end result, and how, if you're carrying a whole thing of bricks and you trip, well, I messed up all the sand. You got to redo all that work. All of a sudden you take care into every small aspect.
And I think to your point with the different level of satisfaction. I think a testament to that is the amount that society now notices an accomplishment of extreme hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So you look around and you see somebody who, maybe made it through law school or something, right? Or something of that degree that takes a large amount of work. Or, maybe they got the job they've been after for, several years. Or they went back to school after leaving school to get their, master's degree or something that's truly difficult to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, and it's impressive to a lot of people because of the level of hard work that it requires.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, go ahead.
On that hard work, there's a very strong correlation between hard work and intentionality. Let's pick on that college example there for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell you, hey, I know a 19-year-old who's going to college, you'd be like, and? There's no reaction.
Right.
If I say, hey, I have a 39-year-old buddy who's going to college, you'd be like, what?
Interesting.
Tell me about this.
Yeah.
It's way more interesting. And they're doing the same exact thing. But one, generally speaking, could be, well, this is what everyone's doing. All my friends are going to college.
Mm-hmm.
It's what society says I should do. The other one is, I am being very intentional, and I am making a lifestyle choice that is different than most of my peers, and I'm doing it for XYZ reason.
Right.
And that hard work often is followed by intentionality, which is the item that's really underlying all this hard work. You have to be intentional about hard work. You don't get to be distracted.
Right. You don't accomplish anything difficult unintentionally. You don't just happen upon a difficult task. It's not how it works.
No. And the retraining yourself to be able to not be so susceptible to a dopamine hit of the 6-second clip. It's the easiest example here.
Yep.
That is, imagine you're watching this one right now, and right after this one, you turn it off. You're like, put the phone down. You're not going to.
No.
You're going to watch the next one.
You're going to watch the next one. And even if you do put it down, you're going to sit there and you're going to go, okay, now what? Oh, and then you're going to pick it back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we were, and you're not going to want to do it, but if you go under screen time on your phone, I think it'll tell you how many times you picked up your phone that day.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do it.
Well, and I think to the point of this video is we're starting to get to a point where that number that you just said you don't want to look at is now starting to get acceptable. People are looking at that number and they're going, that wasn't that bad. I was on my phone for 3 hours today. Out of 24, 3 of them were spent on my phone scrolling on TikTok. Oh, that wasn't that bad. It wasn't 4 or it wasn't 5. Whereas if you were to take the 3 hours, 4 hours a day, and don't get me wrong, we're just as bad as the next people are at this. But that's why we're doing this, is to hopefully get better at it. But if you were to take those 3 or 4 hours a day and invest that in a hobby, learning to play guitar, art, anything of that regard, I think people would be surprised at how quickly they forgot their phone in the midst of being engaged in that hard work item. But to get started doing it, to put the phone down and to pick up the guitar and the lesson book and start consistently doing that item, that's the hard part. That's the hard work. That's why it's called hard work. And there's a reward there that a lot of people are missing, I think. And that's what I wanted to bring to discuss today. It's just there's a reason hard work is worth it, and a lot of people are missing that because they're not putting in the time to do it.
And I want to tie it back to being able to look yourself in the mirror.
Right.
And forgive me, it's in Proverbs where it says, a good night's sleep is a blessing from the Lord. Paraphrasing. And a lot of us, will go to sleep always listening to something. Whether it's the television playing, whether it's an audiobook or it's music, something's always in the background to help us turn our minds off.
Turn your brain off, yeah.
Because a lot of people, not going to say everybody, are afraid to be alone with their thoughts.
Whew, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, but that 6-second clip thing, when you can be alone with your thoughts, then you can think. And when you can think, then you can say, you know what? Here's my trade-off. You know, if I was to look at someone's calendar and say, and they say, you know, I'm broke. You know what? I really need some more money. And I say, okay, hey, pop your phone open for me. Like, why? Just open your phone. Go to screen time.
Yep.
And I see 6 hours a day of TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm like, there's your money.
Yep.
There's your opportunity right there. Not your guarantee, but you have an opportunity to go do something worthwhile.
And I think the exact point of this video is so many people are in that boat and they consistently keep choosing the 6 hours of TikTok because they don't want to choose the hard work. They don't want to put in the hours to start a new side hustle or learn a new skill, or maybe it's as extreme as going back to school or something of that nature. It's so much easier to just pick your phone back up and keep scrolling. And maybe it's not picking your phone up and keeping and scrolling. Maybe it's just getting lost in the busyness of life and not being intentional about how you use your time.
Yeah, letting yourself get distracted by X, Y, or Z.
Even if you're not bad about the time you spend on your phone, but, you know, for example, you get so caught up in, you know, the spouse and the kids and the relatives and your friends and, you know, work and overtime hours and whatever. And the next thing you know, you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything. All your hours are gone and you don't know where your time's going.
Mm-hmm. And that example you just gave there, where you listed those items, all individually good things.
Absolutely.
But we only have so many hours in a day.
Yep.
There's only so much good we can actually do in this world. And if we allow ourselves to have life make that decision for us, instead of us make that decision, we're not going to feel like we truly accomplished. We brought this up before, where we were looking back and like, you know, we didn't feel like we accomplished X, Y, and Z last year.
Right.
Even though we had, because we weren't looking at it. It wasn't as intentional as it needed to have been. And a man who is focused will always beat a man who is distracted. Now, the trade-off on, you know, you brought the example, learn the instrument, the school, the job, the hobby, all of that, versus the phone. The phone is a guaranteed instant win.
Yeah.
And companies are doing billions and trillions of dollars of sales to make sure we keep winning that way. Over here, you might strum that guitar and it's a horrible sound. You might put some money into learning a class and then fail. You might start a side hustle and no one wants to buy your product.
Yep.
You might try to do a sales item and people laugh at you.
Yep. And that's why it's hard. That's the hard in the hard work. And it's not, you're right, it's not guaranteed. But I think in the end, it does pay off.
Babe Ruth. Let's just pick on him for a second. He's not known that for all the strikeouts he had. He's known for the home runs.
Right.
But he had more strikeouts than most people. That's kind of worth noting.
Yep.
He went for it a lot.
Yep.
Failed a lot. But we don't talk about that. We just want to see people win.
But at the time, I bet all of his the other players that were playing with him, before he was Babe Ruth, and he was out there practicing every day, he was batting, he was, you know, whatever the case was, I'll bet they were like, he's, you know, that's not going to help him, or I don't need to do that because of XYZ thing, or he strikes out as much as I do, or he doesn't hit as many home runs as I do. But then the next thing you know, in however the length of his career, he turned into an absolute legend because he put in the hard work, he put in the time, and he became one of baseball's greatest legends.
And these are lessons that can never truly be learned while sitting down.
Right.
You have to go, like, you can't describe the satisfaction of climbing to a top of a mountain in such a way that truly you understand it until you're at the top of the mountain.
Absolutely. And I think that's why so many people find it difficult to start that hard thing. Because how many there are a dime a dozen. How many videos can you go out there and you say that are the challenge videos? Oh, challenge you to put your phone down, or spend less time on your phone, or do XYZ, this challenge, that challenge, blah 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 blah. And nobody ever does them, or they do try them but they don't finish them out, right? Because they're not bought into it, because you can't inspire someone to do something difficult without that person being intentionally bought into it. And I guess maybe a better way of saying that is kind of how you just described it. But you can't explain the reward of hard work until you've done it. You can't convince someone that an extremely large amount of work is going to be worth it until they've done it.
Without vision, without inspiration, a person or a nation dies. You have to have a vision. You have to have inspiration. And that's kind of one of the underlying items that we have been trying to search here each week when we do this. We are looking to try to put some good out there that will connect with the person who is looking, to say, hey, you can do this. This is the moment. You've been waiting for permission that you didn't need, but you've been waiting for it. You now have the permission. Now you can go. And you have people who believe in you. We don't even know you. And yet we believe in you, because we know the person willing to take step 1 is going to be willing to take step 2 and 3.
But like we've talked about before, don't let step 1 be the motivation for step 2 through 10.
Right.
You have to be willing to put in that work and that grind to accomplish whatever it is that you're after on your own. You have to find that motivation. You can't let us or whoever, someone on TV or whatever, be your motivation. Because everyone's willing to try that quick little 2-second shortcut, but it's the people that are willing to put in the hard work that eventually reap the benefits. And you're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. But in the end, it pays out. But like we said, we can't convince you of that until you get there.
Once you've done everything you can, then you do what is required.
Nope. I think we've touched some good stuff here. I think we've covered some good content, but I think it boils down to, at the end of the day, sometimes it just takes hard work. Sometimes that's all that's left, is just to put your nose down and chase it. And in today's days, that's harder and harder to find. And it's easier and easier to find somebody offering a shortcut or a easier way out. But I think what we're trying to share here is that inevitably that hard work pays out more than the shortcut.
At the end of life, you don't want to say my life was easy. You want to say my life was worth it.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man.